No. Okay, good. Are you sure? Is that going to be good? Was there strong? Wow, now I'm so toned. Okay. Okay, I know. This is good. I want to thank everyone for coming, including people in the media, and all of the members of Congress, and also the families who are represented here today. This is transformational auto safety package that will put people's safety and the lives of people first. It will help prevent tens of thousands of deaths, millions of injuries, and hundreds of billions of dollars in costs to society every single year. Our nation is suffering from an automobile safety crisis right now that requires swift and decisive federal action. I want to say a special thank you to Congressman Peter DeFazio, who is the author of the Invest in America Act, in which this package of auto safety bills will be. So today you're going to hear from people who have suffered terrible tragedies as a result of auto safety this auto safety crisis. And you know, it's hard for them to come here and to come here and to come here time after time to talk about this, and we're especially grateful to them. So it's very important that we pass the Invest in America Act. Just briefly, the legislation we're going to be talking about is we're going to be able to end the epidemic of hot car deaths. This is a really important time to be talking about that nearly 1,000 babies and toddlers have died in hot cars since 1990. I want to thank Congressman Tim Ryan for partnering with me on this legislation. You'll hear more about it. We are going to hear from Debbie Dingle about her legislation dealing with drunk driving, still a problem in the HALT Drunk Driving Act. You will hear from Kathleen Rice, who will be talking about how we can strengthen seat backs to prevent the collapse of seats during crashes with her Modernizing Seatback Safety Act. You will hear about the Crash Avoidance System Evaluation Act that will protect passengers and bicycles and pedestrians from being hurt. You will hear about the Park It Act. That's a bill that I have introduced with Darren Stoto and Seth Moulton because of the automatic key ignitions that you can't always tell that they're on, and leads to carbon monoxide poisoning and rollaways. And you will hear about the Safe Limo Act from Representative Paul Tonko, and finally Raja Krishnamurthy, who I don't believe is here, has legislation to enhance the safety of booster seats. And so this is all in the package that we are looking forward to passing. So let me begin by calling on Debbie. Is Debbie here? Okay. There's she was waiting outside the door. Heard her voice being called, and in she comes, Debbie Dingle, to talk about her legislation. Debbie, I think you could probably use this too.
Oh, I know I can.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. If we're all having one of those days, thank you, Jan, for organizing this, and to Reps Ryan, Rice, and Tonko for their advocacy on auto safety in advancing this auto safety package. And yep, I'm a car girl, and I'm here, and I'm proud of being here today. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm also very thankful to be here along with Mad and my friend Rana Bastela, who I haven't even hugged yet, who really inspired me to do what I've done today. And I called Jan today. It happened. It said, Jan, you have to make it happen, and Kathleen's become a part of it. But Rana lives through the worst and is really representative of what happened to her family, what happens to so many families across this country. So I'm here today to talk about the importance of the HALT Drunk Driving Act, which is included in the Invest in America Act on the House floor this week. So no community is spared what happens when something happens when a family or someone's killed because of drunk driving. God, I'm gonna start crying. I mean, Rana, I've known her family forever. And when they died, I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to be, I know, when her sister Rima died and her brother-in-law and the 3 kids, I was at the mosque with them, and some of the kids' classmates, some who I knew, some who I didn't, came up to me and said, technology exists. Why have you not done anything to keep this from happening? You're responsible. And you know what? When a 10-year-old says that to you they're right. We have to do something. So I promised Rhonda that at the funeral, and I was with the kids at a memorial service, and it was just, this has become something, it's a promise I made to her, to my community. I called Jan, I called Ford Motor Company, and I said, you have to do this. This is our community. So I first introduced the HALT Drunk Driving Act after they were tragically killed, and we just keep making this fight. And so others have joined me in this, and it's now time. We go, even in my district, in the last month, there have been numerous deaths. There have been like 4 different accidents on the highways of drunk drivers killing people. It's unacceptable. So the HALT Drunk Driving Act, we're going to work together to make drunk driving technology standard in every new vehicle. By installing this prevention technology in all vehicles, we can save over 9,400 lives each year. And we've got to work. Isn't it time? I mean, does anybody else want to come have a child look you in the eye and say this exists and why is my friend dead? Well, we shouldn't tell any child that. So we can't wait any longer to make these roads safer. They're much better to hear from. I thank Matt too for all the work they've done, but I really thank my colleagues. And you know what? During this past COVID, people are drinking more and more people are dying. And it's not okay. We need to make our roads safer, period. So I'm proud to do this, and I thank you.
You know what, I told my staff, we need to have Kleenex for this press conference. And now I'm proud to call on Kathleen Rice to talk about her legislation.
I would look way too tall if I jumped on that, sorry. Thank you so much to Chair Schakowsky for holding this press conference, and thank you to all of my colleagues and the incredible advocates who are joining us here. You know, before I came to Congress, I made cracking down on drunk driving one of my top priorities when I became the district attorney of my home county, Nassau County on Long Island. I saw too many tragedies, too many families torn apart. It was clear then, and it is clear now, that more needs to be done. I've been working with my friends at MAD for over 15 years now. And while law enforcement strategies are a key part of that effort, I know all too well that they alone are not enough. The punishments don't ever meet the crime. There's no comforting a family member, especially if the person who killed their loved one gets no jail time, which happens in way too many cases. So that's why I'm proud to be a co-lead on Debbie Dingle, Representative Dingle's HALT Drunk Driving Act. By requiring passive drunk driving prevention technology in all newly manufactured cars, for the first time, we can actually stop drunk drivers on the spot before they can even get behind the wheel. I mean, this bill is such a huge deal. You know, people Remember a time when there were no such things as seatbelts or airbags in cars, and the car manufacturers would be, "Oh, it's too expensive, it's gonna be too cost prohibitive." Now no one gets in a car without putting their seatbelt on, right? Everyone is grateful that we have airbags. We have this technology that can prevent drunk drivers from starting a car and driving it and killing people, and we have to employ it now. So I'm just so grateful to Representative Dingle, to David McKinley, our Republican co-lead from West Virginia, again, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and all who are pushing to make this bill law. And while I'm here today, I also want to mention my other bill, the Modernizing Seatback Safety Act, which I will offer as an amendment to the Invest in America Act. Seatback collapse during car collisions have been the reason for thousands of deaths. People don't even think about it. You can go online and look at these videos. It is a situation that can be prevented. Tragically, most of those who get hurt or killed are children getting crushed in the back seat when the front seat collapses on top of them. And you see death, permanent injury, brain trauma. It's just horrible. Despite this, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has not updated its seatback integrity standards in over 50 years, and that is inexcusable. Their current standard is extraordinarily weak. Most dining room chairs would pass the test. It's dangerous and totally outrageous. So that's why updating these standards should be a quick and easy fix that we know will save countless lives going forward. I would like to thank Jason Levine, who is here today from the Center for Auto Safety. You're going to hear from him as well, for his advocacy on this issue and for working closely with my team on our bill. And of course, I want to thank all of my colleagues here in advance for joining me in support of the amendment ahead of tomorrow's vote. There is no reason why first of all, this is not a partisan issue. So there are Mr. McKinley, our colleague from West Virginia, is a Republican. I defy anyone to walk up to any Republican in the House or in the Senate and say, "Do you not care about these issues?" Everyone does. It's time for us to act, and I want to thank you all for coming today.
That's all right. I really appreciate your mention of the bipartisan nature of much of the legislation that we're talking about today. It's very, very important. I want now to introduce and call up Representative Paul Tonko, who will talk about his limousine legislation.
Thank you, Jan, and let me begin by saying I serve on Energy and Commerce with Jan Schakowsky. What a voice. A brave voice, a determined voice, a passionate voice for safety, for consumers, and we have the right person sitting in the subcommittee chair role. Thank you, Jan, for all your help with this legislation. To all of my colleagues and to the advocates that are here, Kathy and the team for highway auto safety.
You got it.
All right. They were great partners. This has been a long journey. I think back of October 6th, 2018. It'll be 3 years this October. A limousine with 18 people crashed in Schoharie County, not far from my hometown of Amsterdam, New York. The car was folded, and it crushed 18 beautiful lives and killed 2 passengers, or 2 pedestrians. I come from Amsterdam, and most of these lives were connected to Amsterdam somehow. Friends, former co-workers, siblings, was a crushing blow. It numbed the community. They were out partying for a 30th birthday celebration. They did the right thing, the safe thing. They hired a limo, never dreaming that when they entered into that limo, it was a death trap. They should have never been on the road. And so I thank everyone for moving this along. Thank you, Peter DeFazio, for incorporating it into your Highway Safety Act bill. It is important that we learn from this exercise. Through the tragedy that impacted these 20 lives, and the King family that I'm close to lost 4 daughters and 3 sons-in-law. A tough blow. I don't know if any of us could put another foot forward after some kind of news like that. But I connected with them after the tragedy and then met a family from Long Island that had a similar tragedy earlier. And together, we walked the walk of reform. And we're determined to fix this system. And so what we have here is legislation, and thank you, Jan, for your help, to make certain that we provide for much stricter limousine safety rules and standards, to get vehicles off the road that ought not be on the road, and to close loopholes that just should not allow people to escape responsibility. We talk about impoundment of vehicles that should not be on the road with this legislation. We speak to design of seats and the alignment of those seats and the safest way to address that, and seat belts. We have those standards for limos that are stretched. We rely on these vehicles for safety's sake, and they shouldn't be unsafe. It's as clear as that. So now that we are entering into this phase of the pandemic shutdown, weakening and closing, we're going to see more and more proms, graduations, parties, and more limos on the road. This is very timely that we get this done. And it speaks to these 20 beautiful souls that were wiped out, so that their lives weren't that this tragedy wasn't in vain, that their lives said something to us as policymakers that needs to be corrected. These families have been tortured. I thank them for the input along the way. They've revisited this tragedy over and over again so that we could accomplish our work. It's hurtful, and it's so long-lasting for them. But I think they breathe a sigh of thank you for the work that all of you have done with us. God bless them all, and thank you. Thank you.
This is hard. Yes, I thank you for mentioning. I am the chair of the Consumer Protection Subcommittee of the Energy and Commerce Committee. We are about trying to save lives, so I'm very happy to be with all these folks today, as hard as it is. Next, I want to introduce Alex Addy, the president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who for so many years, this organization and the leadership that they provide has worked to make our highways safer.
Hi, my name is Alex Addy, and I'm the National President of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. With me here today are several MAD victims, including Ken Snyder, whose daughter Katie was killed by a drunk driver 3 years ago. As one of the nearly 1 million victims MAD has served, I want to genuinely thank Chairwoman Schakowsky, Representatives Dingell and Rice for your leadership in promoting auto safety in the Invest in America Act. With passage of the drunk driving prevention provisions in this bill, we can end drunk driving even faster than the bill which passed the House last year. 2 days from now, on Friday, I will honor the 11-year anniversary of the day someone else got to make the choice for me. Someone else made a choice to drive impaired, and I chose to fight to be the last little girl that this would ever happen to. Today, you'll hear from Brenna Voss Taylor, whose family was tragically killed in my hometown on January 6th of 2019. In addition to other beloved family members, there were 2 little girls in that car who this shouldn't have happened to. It's nearly impossible for me to articulate the trauma that comes with living the rest of your life as a victim of this crime. It's even more impossible for me to explain to you the devastation that comes with the realization that it keeps happening. Many of us come to MAD because we don't have a choice. Those of you that are here before you have been personally impacted by drunk or drug driving, thank you for choosing us. Your being here reminds us that the rest of the world still cares, and for that I can't thank you enough. The drunk driving prevention technology rulemaking will be the most significant ever undertaken by NHTSA in terms of lives saved. Let this be the end. Let this mark the beginning of the end of drunk driving, saving more than 9,400 lives and preventing hundreds of thousands of permanent injuries just like mine every year. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Now, here's Brenna Abbas-Taylor.
Good afternoon. It's an honor for my husband Tom and I to be here representing MAD and millions of drunk driving victims. On January 6, 2019, my world, the only one I had ever known, fell to pieces. In a split second, I lost nearly my entire family because a drunk driver was able to get behind the wheel of a vehicle, take that vehicle on the wrong side of the same freeway that my family was driving on and collide with them head on. Killed instantly was my 38-year-old sister Rima, my only sibling and best friend, my 42-year-old brother-in-law, Isam, my two nieces, Isabella and Giselle, ages 12 and 7, and my only nephew, Ollie, who was 13. They were returning home to Northville, Michigan for my family vacation in Florida. The individual who killed my family near Lexington, Kentucky, had a blood alcohol concentration nearly 4 times the legal limit, a level so high it is lethal. Yet he was able to operate a vehicle in this condition and senselessly wipe out the lives of 5 incredible people, an entire family. It has been nearly 2.5 years now, but the pain and shock of this tragedy has not worn off. I doubt it ever will. I continue to struggle to adequately articulate the magnitude of this loss. I want to take a moment to thank Congresswoman Debbie Dingell for her swift action and steadfast commitment to end drunk driving. Within a week of the crash that killed our family, Congresswoman Dingell introduced legislation to prevent this horrific tragedy from happening to anyone else. She even named her bill in honor of my family's memory, the Honoring the Abbas Family Legacy to Terminate Drunk Driving Act, also known as the HALT Act. She has been unwavering in her leadership on this issue ever since. We are so grateful for your support, Congresswoman. I also want to thank Congresswoman Rice, our bill co-sponsor, who has been a leading advocate against drunk driving for over 20 years. I will never forget the moment I learned that we do indeed have the ability to end drunk driving. I still cannot reconcile the fact that technology exists that can not only decrease, but prevent crashes entirely, yet conscious decisions are being made not to install it in cars. The fact that this life-saving technology predates my family's crash, but was not utilized and is still being debated is not okay. I want to be clear, we did not ask for this fight. It came crashing down on us. The unimaginable pain and heartbreak it has created from its ashes a personal obligation to ensure that no family should ever have to suffer like ours has. Sometimes we don't choose our battles, they choose us. I am here today in honor of my family and the many family members of other drunk driving victims to continue the work that my baby sister Rima, a physician, committed her life to, saving lives. My family should not have died. Their deaths could have been prevented. We refuse to wait any longer for this life-saving technology. I am so grateful that through the passage of this legislation and the setting of a new safety standard that requires drunk driving prevention technology in cars, others won't have to experience the horrors that we have. Chair Schakowsky, thank you so much for your unwavering leadership and commitment to end drunk driving and for having us here today. We value you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now let me introduce Jason Levine, who is the president of the Center for Auto Safety, to give a presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairwoman Schakowsky. Can you guys bring me one of these chairs here? Today, we're here to talk about leadership and courage. Far too often, vehicle safety takes a backseat in conversations regarding infrastructure or innovation. But the opposite is true of the INVEST Act. The INVEST Act contains landmark provisions, which, if enacted, have the potential to make a significant and lasting impact on the more than 100 Americans killed every day, either in a vehicle or when they are hit by one. The 2.5 million Americans who are seriously injured every year in a car crash, and the estimated $1 trillion annual hit to our economy caused by crashes that technology can often prevent. As a result of the leadership of Representatives Schakowsky, Rice, Dingell, Tonko, and many others, the INVEST Act recognizes the potential for improved technology, and new standards play an important role in safety. Among many other consumer vehicle safety provisions, the INVEST Act requires rules be written by a date certain to employ advanced technology to address the more than 10,000 deaths every year associated with impaired driving. It requires deployment of crash avoidance technology, including automatic emergency braking, blind spot warning, based on objective performance standards. It requires research followed by rulemaking into driver monitoring systems to help combat drowsy and distracted driving. It requires an update to the completely out-of-date 5-star crash rating system by requiring new tests, test dummies, and provisions to help protect vulnerable road users, thus giving consumers useful comparative safety information. And it also, hopefully, will contain an additional provision sponsored by Representative Rice, co-sponsored by Chairwoman Schakowsky, that takes on the need to modernize the seatback safety standard that can be passed by this chair. The 1967 seatback standard has always been inadequate, with its main contribution to consumers having been catastrophic suffering. In 2019, career staff at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration published this research with potential solutions that would cost less than $5 per seat to fix this problem. The Modernizing Seatback Safety Act, if enacted, can help prevent many of the estimated 50 child deaths, adult deaths, and countless injuries, because we don't even count them very well, that happen every year due to seatback failures. In a few minutes, Ted Schwab is going to share his experience as a parent of a child who was in one of these crashes. And the trauma, not only of Teddy's fractured skull, which is on this picture behind us, but of the realization that he and thousands of other families were let down by their government, which allowed an inadequate standard to stay on the books since before man walked on the moon. On behalf of the Center for Auto Safety, we want to honor the courage of Ted, his wife Claire, and of course Teddy, and the many other families that have been impacted by this tragedy. We also want to honor the courage of all the advocates here today. It is awe-inspiring to me every single time we have the opportunity to just hear these stories and the recognition that they're telling their stories so others don't have to share their pain. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Schwab. I'm here on behalf of my son Teddy, our family, and the thousands of other families that have suffered catastrophic injuries or deaths as a result of preventable seatback failures. We are profusely grateful that to see the INVEST Act will likely include a requirement that the federal government update the standard that dates back 50 years and does not protect passengers in rear seats of cars. March 25th, 2016, Teddy was nearly killed in a rear-end collision in Richland, South Carolina. The first responders believed he would die, but he survived. He was in a coma for a month, had a surgery to reconstruct his skull and face, and spent another month in inpatient rehab, and spent the last 5 years in intensive physical, cognitive, educational, hyperbaric, and other therapies. While we're hoping and praying that Teddy, for a positive outcome for Teddy, we have no idea where he will end up, if he will be able to drive, what level of educational, professional, social attainment he may achieve. And while we're doing everything to help him recover, our family has suffered crushing financial losses and stress from the litigation related to the accident. We're the lucky ones. Parents we have come to know, like Michelle and Jason Fraser and their courageous daughter Jay Faye, face much harder paths than we do. Parents like Liz and Andy Warner will never get to see their daughter Taylor Grace grow up after she died in a rear-end collision at 17 months. It was only after our crash that we discovered that these crashes are happening all the time. It was only then that we learned from the Center for Auto Safety that efforts to update the standard that had been written in 1967 had not been successful. We are so profusely grateful for Congresswoman Rice and Chairwoman Schakowsky's, including the in the Invest Act, the standard that would modernize the regulations around seatback. It's incredible that for $5 a chair, this doesn't have to happen. We hope the Senate will act quickly to finish what the House is starting, and we hope families in the future will be spared what we all have endured. Thank you for your time.
Next is Jeanette Fennell, who is the president and founder of Kids and Cars.
Thank you, Jan, and always wonderful members of Congress, and so happy to be here today. As Jan said, I'm Jeanette Fennell, and I'm the president and founder of a national nonprofit organization called Kids and Car Safety. And what we do is work to keep children and pets safe in and around motor vehicles. My statement today is going to be short, direct, and to the point. We have been coming to Washington, D.C. for years. Check that, actually decades, to try to get technology added to our vehicles so our precious little ones do not have to die. And what has happened over those years? 1,000 deaths. 1,000 deaths of babies. 90% of children who die in hot cars are age 3 or younger. This inaction is totally unacceptable and of course has real consequences when we don't get it added to our vehicles. This is a nonpartisan issue. The action needed is detection technology to our vehicles that can alert the driver or anyone else in the area that a young child might need some assistance. You know, in the mid-1990s, we made a very dramatic change in the way that we transport our children. We put them in the back seat because we said that was safer. Passed a lot of laws to make sure they were in the back seat, and then to make them even safer, we made them rear-facing. We absolutely hid those children from the driver. We are asking today that the HOT Cars Act is passed absolutely as soon as possible. You know, the auto industry knows we're human. It reminds me, if we don't have our seatbelt on, it tells us if our gas is getting low. Or it even can tell us to turn off our headlights. In some cars, it automatically turns them off. Lots of reminders, but the most important reminder is not there. And that is something to let you know if a child's been left behind. We cannot wait any longer. It's unconscionable that we have not added this technology to our vehicles. What we need to do is to detect, to protect. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Lindsay Rogers Sykes and her daughter, Riley Sykes, who come to us today as a mother, a wife, a writer, an attorney, and with her beautiful daughter, Riley, to tell us one of these stories that's very difficult to tell, and we'll let you know how important it is that we get the HALT Cars Act passed. Lindsay?
Next week, on July 7th, it will mark the 7-year anniversary of my son's death. That day in 2014, my 15-month-old son Benjamin passed away in the car at my husband's office. My husband was not texting while he drove, he was not on a call, he was not late for a meeting. He simply took the wrong turn and forgot to drop Benjamin off at daycare. We had simply had a change in routine that morning. According to David Diamond, a neuroscientist and expert in the field, my husband's habitual memory, or autopilot, took over for his prospective memory, which plans cast that will happen as the day progresses. No words I share today can describe the pain of losing a child through a tragic event like this. I still remember his laugh, his smile, his blue eyes, and golden curls. The day before he died, he said "Mama" for the first time. People often tell me you must just simply move on. That is not a true statement. Families do not move on. We are broken and have a piece of our heart missing forever. Time just helps to dull the senses. Tragedies like this do not only destroy families, but they uproot entire communities. My small Connecticut town where this happened was also torn apart due to this tragedy. My daughters, one who stands here today, lost their only brother. The most tragic part of all of this is that it is entirely preventable. In September of 2014, I stood before the acting administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and other congressmen pleading for action. It is June 30th, 2021, and nothing has been done. Since that day in 2014, another 250 children have died in hot car deaths. Since 1990, tens of thousands of children have been left in cars with almost 1,000 deaths. This is entirely unacceptable. Families continue to be torn apart by a lifetime of grief. Car manufacturers have known of this problem for decades, yet why do they not install these readily available solutions that can detect the presence of a child and alert others that they are in danger? Education alone is not working, it is not enough. Members of Congress, we are calling you to action. The technology is there, it already exists, and is not expensive. It is time that we require car manufacturers to implement these changes to save lives. We cannot lose another 1,000 children. This is not the first time Congress has acted. In 2008, it passed a bill requiring cars have rear view camera technology, which we all know is a part of the cars we drive and has surely saved thousands of lives. Now it is time to prevent heat stroke deaths. My daughter, standing beside me, took my hand after we informed her that her brother had died and told me that we would all be okay because she loved me. She told me that I just had to keep breathing. Well, I did. I kept breathing. But a day does not pass that I do not want to kiss my son again, to hold him. He would be 8 years old today in 3rd grade. I have learned how to be happy again, how to love again, and forgive. That process has taken years and has been fraught with many bumps in the road, but we will never be the same. I would not wish this burden on anyone, and I plead with Congress to listen to advocates and families, heed the warnings from the experts, understand the problem, and act. We respectfully request that you pass the HALT Cars Act of 2021 this year. Thank you.
This is not the first time that Tim Ryan and I have introduced the HALT Cars Act, and it just scares me every single day that goes by, especially during the summer. And by the way, it doesn't take a long time for a child to expire, and it doesn't take a really hot day either if the windows are closed. This is a serious, serious risk. And I know it wasn't easy to give that testimony, Lindsay. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce another advocate to make us all safer, Kathy Chase, who is the president, Advocates for Highway Safety, to talk about where we can go from here.
Thank you, Chairwoman Schakowsky. I just want to say that Chairwoman Schakowsky is being much too modest about it during her remarks today. The one thing that's in common about all of the bills that she mentioned at the beginning of this press conference is that she's a part of them. And none of them would be going anywhere without her leadership. Good afternoon, I'm Kathy Chase. I'm the president of Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety. Over the 5-year time period of the Invest in America Act, nearly 200,000 people will be needlessly killed and 14 million more injured in motor vehicle crashes without bold, yet completely common sense and research-based policy improvements. Thankfully, the members of Congress here today and others have chosen to say this death and injury toll is inexcusable, insufferable, and intolerable. They have led with action and determination, bolstered by the bravery and personal sacrifices of the families here today and throughout the country, who share their living nightmares to advocate for policy changes to protect us all. It is incumbent upon us to respect and honor their loved ones by advancing proven solutions that prevent future tragedies. We have technological solutions to accomplish this achievable goal, and this chart behind the chairwoman demonstrates it. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has proven that automatic emergency braking, or AEB, will reduce front-to-rear car crashes by 50% and large truck crashes by 40%. Yet some automakers still upcharge for these features, known as advanced driver assistance systems. This inequitable practice endangers families who cannot afford to pay more for this life-saving equipment, and everyone sharing the roadways with them. We commend the House for including this requirement in the Invest in America Act for cars and large trucks. It is truly a game changer to curb persistent roadway threats, such as drunk, drugged, distracted, and drowsy driving. However, there is a lethal loophole for small to medium-sized trucks, like the ones that drive through our neighborhoods every day to make next-day e-commerce deliveries. As Congress continues consideration of the transportation bill, we need a course correction on this omission to make sure all road users, pedestrians, bicyclists, children playing in the front of their houses, and other vulnerable road users will be protected by verified safety technology. Numerous other sections of the Invest in America Act move the ball forward on promising technologies. We have long stood arm in arm with MAD to end impaired driving. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety estimates that widespread deployment of impaired driving prevention technology will save more than 9,000 lives every year. Thank you, Congresswoman Dingell, Chairwoman Schakowsky, Congresswoman Rice, and all of the sponsors of the HALT Drunk Driving Act, which is included in the Invest in America Act. The bill also addresses the tragedy of hot car deaths of children technology, a detection and alert system requirement. I'd like to thank the leading property casualty insurance companies and trade associations on Advocates Board that sent a letter in support of this provision to Congress today. There are many, many other noteworthy auto safety provisions in the Invest in America Act, including ending keyless ignition problems, improving the seatback standard, updating the new car assessment program, enhancing limousine safety, and prioritizing the safety of vulnerable road users through a safe system approach, among others. I encourage you to go to our website, which is saferoads.org, to see our safety spotlights, which provide a comprehensive explanation of the safety sections, and then contact your member of Congress and urge them to support them. Must-pass, multi-year transportation bills like the Invest in America Act have traditionally featured safety upgrades. As the House passes this bill and then the Senate considers its bill in the next few weeks, we urge Congress to meet the moment, reject dangerous anti-safety industry carve-outs and exemptions, and truly advance safety for everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity, Chairwoman and members of Congress. It's been an honor to work with you and your staffs who are tireless in these efforts, I know, because we talk to them around the clock. So thank you, we're gonna get this done.
And last but certainly not least, I want to introduce you to William Wallace, who is the manager of safety policy for Consumer Reports. Thank you, Will.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. I really appreciate the introduction, and I appreciate everyone, all the lawmakers here for their leadership on auto safety at a crucial time when truly we must address this terrible toll on our roads. Consumer Reports is an independent, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. People know us for our magazine, they know us for product testing, they know us for surveys. We also have an advocacy and grassroots mobilization division, and we're here today to stand up for auto safety and express our strong support for the Invest in America Act and the safety provisions that are contained within the legislation. We fight for a safe marketplace. We're a data-driven organization, a science organization. Right now, the terrible toll on our roads, 38,000 people who die on our roads every year, millions of people injured. Addressing that requires strong leadership to pass new laws. That is what you see right here. You see it with the lawmakers, and you see it with the courage and the power of those who have lost loved ones, and who are here to tell America, tell Congress, that this is what must be done right now. The Invest in America Act, and specifically its safety provisions, are transformative and necessary. The bill follows the data and offers real solutions. The road safety provisions in the bill would make sure that proven safety technology comes standard on all new cars. It would make sure to strengthen the 5-star safety ratings, which frankly just aren't that useful anymore for people when every car gets a 4-star or a 5-star rating. A CR analysis conducted last year found that if existing technology became standard on all new cars, we could cut road deaths in half. Let me repeat that. We could cut road deaths in half by taking existing technology that already is in some cars and making sure that it comes standard in all cars. And that's what this bill would do. It would save at least 20,000 lives. It would also eliminate the upcharging that my colleague Kathy was referring to. Another CR analysis last year found that it's very common for automakers to charge $2,000 or more for a premium package containing life-saving safety features. Safety shouldn't be a luxury. Safety should come standard on every single new car. We strongly support the 21st Century Smart Cars Act, and thank you for your leadership. We also support the 5 stars for Safe Cars Act. We strongly support the Hot Cars Act, the Park It Act, other legislation that's included here, including legislation to make drunk driving prevention technology standard. We really appreciate Representative Rice's leadership on seatback safety and Representative Tonko's on limousine safety. The bill would also make sure that underride crashes are addressed, and we hope to see that provision in the bill continue to move forward and strengthen as it goes. Thank you once again for the opportunity to be here on behalf of Consumer Reports. We strongly support the Invest in America Act, and especially the safety provisions therein. They should become law.
There we go. Thank you. Okay. You've heard from all the speakers. And the one thing I wanted to point out is when you hear the heartbreaking stories, the important thing to remember is that these tragedies are not necessary, that we can do something about them. What a privilege it is for us in the United States Congress to have that opportunity to save lives. And we need to work as quickly as possible so that the tragedies that you heard about today do not keep reoccurring. I also want to thank Congressman and the Chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Frank Malone, for making sure that he was able to work to get this legislation included to be included in the legislation that we've been pushing today. The Invest in America Act, and we look forward to passing that. Thank you for sticking around today and to hearing these wonderful speakers talk about how important this is to get done. Appreciate it. Any questions that we can answer, and if you want to direct it to somebody personally, let me know. Then once again, let me just thank all our witnesses, all the experts, and all the members of Congress who are working on this. You know, while I got you, let me just tell you, I was the sponsor of the bill that required rear view cameras. From the day that it passed the Congress, it took another 10 years for the legislation actually to go into effect, but it happened. And again, families kept coming back and talking about, in some cases, how they ran over their own children or grandchild. And they would come once a year, twice a year, to tell that story and bring pictures like we're seeing today. It's necessary. And so I think we all feel a deep obligation to make these laws in order and to save lives. Thank you so much, everybody.